Hi, I'm Bernhard. Welcome to Austria, where we repower wind turbines.
Imagine if you could extend wind farm power capacity without installing new infrastructure. This is what ContourGlobal is doing in Austria, repowering old turbines with newer, more efficient models. By using the same land and permits, the team can boost output, cut project timelines, and reduce environmental impact. We went to the top of a turbine in Scharndorf to see how this process works in practice and what challenges come with it. Bernhard, thank you so much for welcoming Enlit on the road to Austria. Why repower? Why not build new wind turbines from scratch?
Because repowering is much faster, it's more sustainable than going for new wind park somewhere else. Here you have already the land secured, you have the commitment of the communities, you have a permitted zone, so you don't have to start from scratch, which takes normally 2-3 years. You use the same spot, the same land, increase the capacity, triple it, even 4 times higher, and have a much higher output.
How do you choose which wind turbines to repower?
First of all, it's an economic decision. You have to calculate what will be at the time that the old support scheme expires, what will be the power forward curve, what are the power forward prices, what will be the turbine costs at that time. Either you repower immediately after the old scheme expires, or you still wait till maximum the end of the technical lifetime of the turbines, which could be after 20-25 years. But again, first it's a commercial decision when to repower. We have in the last 5 years renewed around 40 turbines and another 40 are waiting for repowering. Then we want to build 40 newest generation turbines and replace the old 2 megawatt turbines we still have around here.
What are some of the key challenges that you have to overcome with this type of process?
The biggest challenge is definitely the grid capacity, because you don't want to replace 5 old turbines with 2 megawatt capacity with 2 turbines, each of them 5 megawatt capacity. You want to replace 5 old with 5 newest technology turbines. And then you need more grid capacity. That's the biggest challenge. You also have other challenges, because as the equipment becomes bigger, heavier, you need different kind of road access and roads than you had in the past. So you have to build new roads. The crane pads have to be structured in a completely different manner. And then you have also to convince people that they look at something different now. It's not 100 meter high anymore, it's 200 meters high. And then on top of this, you have other challenges regarding environmental permitting, because you have new kind of turbines, bigger, they should not be noisier. But the grid capacity and the grid access, that's the big challenge.
How do we overcome that challenge?
It's first, you have to inform and be very transparent with the grid operator as far ahead as possible. You tell them, okay, maybe in 5 years' time, we intend to repower this wind park and we want to replace 40 megawatt with maybe 160 megawatt. So they can lock it in their planning of grid expansion and substation expansion. This is on distribution grid level. Then you have to go higher on the transmission grid level as well and do a lot of lobbying, because it has to go also in the mindset of regional and federal politicians that repowering is much easier. It's not a waste of land. So please also provide all the framework available that they can expand the grid. You have to talk to the regulatory authorities who set and determine the grid fees, because someone has to pay for it. So it's a very complex political, technical discussion, with all the many stakeholders. I would start 5-7 years ahead, because you have also on the grid side, you have this supply chain constraints. If you need a new transformer nowadays, the waiting time is around 2 years.
What about co-locating storage? Is that an option?
Storage co-location is now the hype for wind parks and also solar parks. because everyone wants to use the constrained grid capacity as much as possible. Second reason is also you want to optimize your business model. We are checking out now for each wind park location we have the potential of co-locating with PV, but especially with storage. Because you want to store power, you want to sell it when needed, and when power prices are maybe very high. So storage is a very, very important element we consider now in each of our sites.
For developers who maybe want to repower their own operations, how would you use Scharndorf as an example of success?
One of the lessons learned out of Scharndorf is, first of all, start as early as possible with involving all the stakeholders, grid operators, community, farmers. So lesson learned was, for example, in all new contracts we sign now for new sites, that we include already an option that we automatically can extend for repowering. Another lesson learned is that you really have to be careful with all the transport logistics of equipment now. It's much heavier, it's much longer, it's higher. So also don't rely on any sketches you have regarding cabling. It's like you refurbish your old house and they tell you, okay, here's a cable, there's a cable. No, it's never there. We learned to be more careful where all the cables are, because it affects you, health and safety, it affects the other operators. Maybe you shut them off unintentionally, which shouldn't be. That's a lesson learned. We are very close to the Danube River here, and this was 2000 years ago, the northern border of the Roman Empire. And we found some skeletons. So you have to stop working, you have to bring in archaeological experts, then you have to change again the layouts. You never can plan. Another lesson learned is you have to deal with new generations of turbines who are different animals regarding size. Before, crane pad was more or less easy to do. Now, if the crane drivers come with the huge crane, because you have to lift 90 tons on 150 meters height, he says over the length of 100 meters, if there's a difference in the level of the crane bed of 1 centimeter, I stop working. So you have to be really careful with this stuff.
Can you run us through the operations of it all, from turning the turbine off, commissioning, replacing parts, keeping other turbines on at the same time, that whole process?
The user first thing you have to consider, waterproof fixed cost contracts. You go through the permitting process again. Unfortunately, till now you have to do most of the same stuff. But we hope when RED 3 is implemented in Austria that you have a specific and accelerated permitting process for repowering as well. Then when you have the permits ready, when you have ordered the turbines, because you also have to submit all these documents for the tender under the or auction under the CFD scheme, what we have in Austria. So then you auction, then you hopefully get awarded. And then you say, okay, now I trigger the order for the turbines. Then you don't know exactly with supply chain issues, when will they really come? In 1 year, half a year, 2 years. And then you start at the moment when you place the order with the timeline. So, and then you calculate backwards. You have to start refurbishing roads. You need maybe new roads. So all this has to be then locked in the timeline, all this prep work. When finally equipment arrives, crane pads, everything has to be ready, then the foundation has to be ready. Then it depends on the size of the wind park. So here we had a wind park with, we repowered around 6 turbines, so you can do it in one shot. We have other wind parks we are repowering, you do it in phases. Yeah? So you start switching off phase 1 turbines, start demolishing them, and then rebuild, and then you start with the next phase. So it's a very complex project management.
What about NIMBYism, local community pushback? I know that in parts of Austria, other wind farms, this has been an issue. How does that apply when it comes to repowering?
That's one of the big beauties of repowering, because you have here already existing wind parks, wind turbines, people are used to it, the municipality is used to it. So we didn't face any single issue in any of the repowering sites with the people. It's definitely more sustainable in the past. So we demolished 40, 50 turbines already. All of them, with the exception of one, were reused, were rebuilt somewhere else in the world. So it's a very sustainable business.
Bernard, thank you so much for your insights. For more insights, join the Enlit community.